Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts, a new way to keep your teens safer as they grow, like making sure they've got the right gear for riding.
Knee pads.
Check.
And helmet?
Done. See you, Dad.
New Instagram Teen Accounts, automatic protections for who can contact your teen and the content they can see.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1078, May 16th, 2023. 94 degrees on this day in 1934. And 31 degrees on this day in 1890 and 1929. 1929 was way before the technology that resulted in Aquacide, a great line of White Bear Lake products that have been keeping your swimming beach free of weeds and algae for more than 60 years. Aquacide products are easy to use. They work right away. Kids will try to swim today. If it gets into the 80s, you watch.
You think so?
Kids will dare it. Kids will dare it. Aquacide is registered with both the EPA and DNR. There's no needs to let weeds overtake your lake or pond this summer. Call Aquacide today and describe your problem. They'll get you the right products. Call Aquacide at 1-800-328-9350 or go to aquacide.com.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
I've started to be sent beautiful pictures of people with lake places flying their GL flag.
Oh, neat.
At the end of the dock.
It's that time. It's that season.
It is that season.
It is the season. How do you not do that?
We are joined in studio by Bill Glahn from the Center of the American Experiment. Bill worked in the legislature, knows the ins and outs now, is with the Center. And the public safety bill passed, Bill. And we can obviously anticipate the governor will sign it. He'll sign anything you put in front of him, and he'll sign this. How many pages do you think that bill is?
I think it was about 550.
And everybody read every word, right?
Well, again, it doesn't even break the record. Some of these human services bills goes to thousands of pages.
You're kidding.
No.
The most insidious part of the public safety bill, correct me if I'm wrong, we think the bias registry survived in the bill. Do we know that for a fact?
It did, a little bit different form than it was before, but the same concept.
What could be a different form that would ease our pain?
Well, just not doing it at all would be the preferable thing. But the original version of it would have the Department of Human Rights collect, quote, hate incidents.
Right.
And they would create a registry of stuff that didn't rise to the level of a crime. They already collect statistics on hate crimes. That's already done. But this would be, quote, hate incidents. We don't define what an incident is. It's whatever you didn't like, somebody said you didn't like, and they would go into this registry, and we don't know what they would do with it. So they don't have the, quote, registry, but they have this assignment when they're given $1 million to do it, which was to go and create a report every 2 years on trends in hate incidents in Minnesota. So to do that, they can go to community organizations, nonprofits, and collect, I don't know what, anecdotes, people's names, and produce this report. But what's going to happen to this information, the statute won't say.
I don't know where to begin.
So they signed off on it not knowing what the end result is going to be. It's just open-ended.
Well, this is not just this bill. It's everything this legislature has done. Paid family leave is another great example. They don't know how it's going to work. Or in the public option for health insurance, they don't know how it's going to work. But they just pass it, and they figure we'll get going on it, and we'll fix any problems that come up downrange.
Let's stick with this bias report for a moment. Could it be that this is the introduction of ESG scores, environmental social governance, that will ultimately determine if you're a suitable enough ideologically fit person to get a bank loan, or am I on the right track here at all?
Well, it's the social credit system they have in places like China.
Sure, it's North Korean in nature.
So you get so many. Just to use the climate change one, the analogy there is we're creating. In England and other places, these 15-minute cities where you're confined to a space and you can only go out of that space so many times per month or whatever the rules are. And once you hit your limit, you're trapped. You can't leave anymore. So that's the idea here. We keep a running score. Each person, Joe, you have your score. Chris has a score. You have a score. And when you hit the limit, then you can't do more of whatever that is, whether it's drive your car.
So it's a race.
Is this a serious version, a current version of the handicapper general?
Yes.
But only worse, I think.
Who is it that hates us this much?
Well,
No, that's a serious question.
These are Democrat proposals. And again, this is all done with the best of intentions. So there's too much hate. So we need to reduce the amount of hate. And
What hate? What hate?
Right.
Well, they have to go look
I'm
for
too busy
it.
to hate.
So that there's not enough. There's more demand for hate crimes than is currently being supplied. So they have to go out into the community and find more hate incidents to report about because there's not enough being generated naturally.
That's like the way they behave in the failed academy. The directors of equity and inclusion, they have to get up every morning and find something wrong because mostly there isn't anything wrong. Right. They have to find it.
People out there living their lives. They're going to the work. They're shopping in the grocery stores. And in fact, it was interesting that the incident that keeps getting repeated as justification for this allegedly occurred in a grocery store during COVID times. Mm-hmm. And, nobody was there to witness it. And we don't know exactly what happened or somebody misinterpreted something or was just completely made up. But, there aren't enough hate crimes to justify all the effort being put into the subject, so they have to create this subcategory of hate incidents to have something to report on.
And that's what's dangerous. Nobody was there to see it. Nobody remembers anything. Right. Maybe it's the hate that's generated by critical race theory. I mean, there's a lot of hate in all of that.
Well, there's no due process. And that was the objection to a lot of this was the registry part. If you get your name in a registry, it's like the no-fly list. You don't know you're in there until you show up to the airport and can't get on a plane. Mm-hmm. If you're in this hate registry and you don't know you are in it until you go to apply to maybe file for office or go to get some government benefit and find out, oh, now I'm on this list. I don't know how I got on there and I don't know who to complain about because I didn't even realize I was flagged.
Will you ultimately have the public safety bill in your hands? Because that's what you guys do at the center. You poor guys have to read the whole damn thing.
Right. Well, luckily I don't have to read the whole thing. But yes, again, there's just been an incredible volume of production. They take credit for it. Hey, this has been a productive session. We've gotten things done that we've been trying to do. These are the Democrats, been trying to do for years and couldn't get it through the Republican Senate or a Republican governor when we had a Republican governor. And the floodgates have opened. So every idea that they had for the last 10 years, since the last time they had the trifecta, they've passed into law or will by the end of the week. And then a bunch of stuff they just thought of in the last month or so.
Why wasn't the trifecta successful 10 years ago?
There was a different, to my view, and this is just my own personal opinion, there was a different breed of Democrat. There were a lot more moderate Democrats, truly moderate Democrats, centrist Democrats who listened to their constituency. So a suburban Democrat saying, well, I don't know if I can go that far. But what's driving the Democratic caucus these days is the far left in the core cities.
I have a question.
So the Roger Moes, remember Roger Moe?
Sure. They're gone.
They're gone.
Tom Bach, David Tomazzoni, may he rest in peace. These moderate Democrats, Iron Range Democrats.
That had at least one ear open to hear what your side was. And I don't want to kill you.
So along those lines, in your educated opinion, Bill, when will reality set in with the voters, the moderate Democrat voters that are typically going to always just check the box down the DFL line? Is it going to, when they have to file taxes next year and they say, what the hell is this?
Well, it'll creep in little by little. And again, there's always an explanation. Well, we had to, you like nice roads, don't you? You want to help the less fortunate. So this is what we had to do. And there's always a reason. There's always an excuse. And it's the frog in the boiling water, the death by 1,000 cuts, whatever analogy you want to use. There's so much of it. It's hard to fixate on 1, 2, or 45 things that happened in this session. But I'm just amazed at the reporting of it. And we were talking about the public safety bill, and all the focus was on the gun control measures, the red flag law and the registry law. And there was not I read a 29-paragraph story in the Star Tribune. Wasn't one mention of this hate crimes report, hate incidents report. Right. There's another provision that would allow people who are currently incarcerated to get early release. Right. And that maybe got one paragraph. And so that'll happen. Somebody will get an early release and they'll go commit another crime. And maybe somebody will mention that, oh, yeah, they should still be in jail for another 2 years under their original sentence. Mm-hmm. So, this stuff will trickle out over time. But will people connect the dots back to what was passed in legislation in 2023? I guess we'll see.
I'm convinced the more we explore this, that this kind of ideology is brought to us by people who don't like the country. They don't like the way it was founded. They find that to be flawed. They're out to rescue that, redeem it. And if you had to look in a crystal ball, do you think Minnesota will be a livable place for a Garage Logic resident 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
I guess it depends on what Chris was asking about. Will people realize what's going on, and will there be a course correction? I keep repeating, we have this situation because one state Senate seat flipped by 321 votes. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't take a lot to get some balance back to the legislature, that you flip that one Senate seat and now it's a Republican majority and very little of this stuff would have happened.
Do you think the people of Minnesota realize that every 2 years now they have to come up with $18 billion in tax revenue that did not exist 2 years ago?
It's just amazing. We have this surplus that unprecedented in the history. You asking me about my past and been in state government for 10 years. Right. And we've had some surpluses, but never of this magnitude, never double-digit billion-dollar surpluses. And the idea would be, hey, the Democrats could do a bunch of stuff they've been wanting to do, like paid family leave and this kind of smooth. But the idea is, we spent all that money, and now we want to spend a whole bunch more money. So I think they keep talking about the tax cuts. Oh, the biggest tax cut in the history of the state. I believe it'll be true by the time we total up all the numbers that the legislature will have passed more tax increases in this session than they passed tax cuts. So not only did we not get that $18 billion
surplus,
not only did we not get any of that $18 billion surplus, we are going to end up paying even more in taxes than we were last year. And what they're passing into law is something on the lines of a 20 or 25% increase at one time. Think, well, you got inflation and maybe a little bit of population growth, and you'd expect government to grow a little bit over time, but it's growing by 20, 25% at one shot.
Not a nickel of that surplus was saved.
It doesn't look like it.
No.
Again, they're still passing bills. They're still they haven't decided the bottom line. This is all still in conference committee, but it doesn't look like we're going to have anything to show for that $18 billion. It's all been earmarked and all been spent, and they've had to raise more taxes.
I think Bill just invented a new GL term. Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it.
Like we say, noted.
Noted.
Remember when we scoffed at the $200 refund checks or whatever they were going to do, and now doesn't look that bad.
No, there's not good. This
went from 1,000 to 200 to nothing.
Well, it's just amazing. And this, the death by 1,000 cuts. You have the delivery tax. Every time you want to get something delivered to your house, a pizza or whatever, there's going to be a tax. And then the card tab fees, which is completely unnecessary that we're going to increase. And in the most bizarre way, we're not going to increase the tax. We're going to do more than 100% depreciation on your vehicle. It just defies logic. Yeah. And then stuff with Uber, we're going to pass all these regulations or increase the cost of an Uber. So it's like everything they can think of, they're going to get through in this session and maybe next year, because I think they fear in 2024 they're going to lose those 322 votes and no longer have that majority.
Well, just one correction to you, Matthew. A slight mistake. He went from 1,000 down to 200 to now us owing him more. So
heck of a rebate program.
Yeah, and I love that he tries to convince residents of states that don't have income tax to move to our state. That's what's so hilarious about a lot of this.
Bill, did you foresee Walz being this disappointing?
I should say, I saw this all coming. But, when he first ran for governor, he was the congressperson from the 1st District, which is the southern tier of the state along the Iowa border. And when he was running for Congress in that district, he was that moderate, centrist congressman. And it seemed to be that was what he sold to get the nomination. It was a highly contested nomination the first time he ran. He was running against a whole bunch of other highly qualified people who were running to be the Democrat nominee. And he was centering, well, I'm that guy from greater Minnesota. I'm from Mankato. He's from Nebraska. But I'm that guy from greater Minnesota. I'm that centrist, that moderate who can attract votes from across the spectrum and get elected in a district which, subsequent to him leaving, leans Republican. Since he left, that seat has gone Republican now, and it hasn't gone Democrat since he got to be governor. So he sold his value proposition to the state was, I'm a moderate centrist Republican or a Democrat. I'm going to listen to both sides. I'm going to pick the best ideas from both sides and govern closer to the middle. But now that he's got complete control of state government, we see who he is. He has completely ceded the agenda to the most radical members of the state legislature representing Minneapolis and St. Paul.
And he also vowed during his campaign to not sign legislation that was not bipartisan.
Well,
everything he signed is not bipartisan.
In fact, this gun bill we're talking about, the public safety bill, has bipartisan opposition. In the House, there's one of the Iron Range Democrats voted no. So it has, not only does it not have any Republican votes, it actually has a Democrat voting against it. He's had that on a bunch of bills where there's been one or two Democrats who have peeled off, not enough to flip the result. But the most disturbing one is the elections bill. Elections affect all 201 members of the legislature, all 4 people who run for statewide office. And he vowed, as has been the policy of all of his predecessors, not to sign election bills without bipartisan support. And he signed it was the most radical election bill in state history without a single Republican voting for it.
This is the pre-registration of 16 and 17-year-olds. You're registered with your license, the whole thing.
It's all designed.
It's a recruitment tactic.
It's the felon voting bill. It's all designed for partisan advantage. They barely won 321 votes, and this is to go make sure, fortify the election is the term of art. They're going to fortify the election to help Democrats.
I mean, there's no other way to look at it. You're going after young people who have no mortgages. They might not have a job. They might not have a car. They don't have children. They don't have an oar in the water. Who do you think you're going to vote for?
Right. Well, we'll get to that when you want to talk about Ward 10.
Yeah, we're going to get to Ward 10 in just a moment. Do you have a garage?
In my apartment building, I have an assigned space in the garage. So I don't have my own. But I did when I owned a house. I had a multi-car garage.
Well, then you should have used Precision Garage Door of the Twin Cities.
Okay.
They don't do commercial work. So you're out of luck with your apartment complex.
I have to tell you, I could have used it because I had 3 garage doors, and I had 2 of them fail during the time I owned that house.
Well, they would have taken care of that. I've met these people. Right now, they've got a great deal at Precision Garage Door. They'll do a 25-point safety inspection, and this is no B as in B, S as in S. And you tell them a GLer, and it's going to be free. They're not trying to sell you anything, but they're going to spot any problem before you end up trapped under the wastebasket.
Don't mess with that spring.
No purchase necessary. Garage doors can break. Mine has, and now I have these guys, so I'm no longer worried about it. Precision Garage Door. They're available 24/7, 365. They don't charge you more for a weekend visit. I was really pleased to know that. It's Precision Garage Door. They serve the metro in western Wisconsin. Take it from me. We need a garage door guy, and these are the people. Precision Garage Door. They fix the garage doors correct. They don't want to return all the time.
No.
They want to help you and fix it. You can get online and get help immediately at precisiondoormn.com. precisiondoormn.com.
Hey, GLers, it's Reavers here, and you've heard me talk about my relationship with Josh Arnold for quite some time now. And the reason I advocate that you give Josh a call is simple. Well, actually, it's two reasons: trust and results. Josh has seen it all when it comes to economic and market conditions. As he says, past results do not guarantee future returns. Well, that is true. Josh can make sure that your retirement objectives match your investments. And you can trust Josh to make sure that you are not paying more in fees than you are selling in returns. Yes, that is more common than you would think. So do yourself a favor by booking a 48-minute free consultation that has absolutely no obligation. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. You will be glad you did.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.
Just like Dylan said.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
Tri-State Bobcat in Little Canada, Hudson, and Burnsville. They have a couple of Toro Time Cutter zero-turn mowers on sale right now. You should probably look into this. Grab some paper and a pen and start running these numbers. First one is the Toro 54-inch Time Cutter. That's with the MyRide suspension. Price for it, $4,899. Toro rebate, $200. Tri-State Bobcat rebate, another $200. Final price, $42.99. You think that was good? Listen to this one.
Give me another one.
The Toro 50-inch Time Cutter. It's $38.99. That's already a good price. Take off $100. So that's an instant rebate. Final price, $37.99. But wait. Well, there's a whole lot more. That price includes a Tri-State Bobcat special 5-year warranty and a Toro Total Care warranty extension. That alone, a $460 value. The Toro, the Total Care, that allows coverage for pickup and delivery within 25 miles of the riding products. That's worth it. And then up to a 30% reimbursement deal on covered maintenance items from Toro. So to sum it up, with that price and so much dang warranty piled up on top of it, this could be the last Toro you'll ever have to buy. They've got you covered for life. Tri-State Bobcat has the Metro covered. Burnsville, Little Canada, Hudson. Tri-State also has Owatonna covered at Mankeys and a dandy website, tristatebobcat.com.
Bill Glahn is with us. What would I call you? Research fellow?
Sure.
At the center of the American Experiment. And
chaos organizer.
It sometimes feels like a lonely outpost, doesn't it? There's not many people doing what the center's doing.
Not too many. And yeah, with this trifecta in charge, it seemed like a lonely crusade.
We had what I've been calling a rhubarb over the weekend. We had a rhubarb at the Ward 10 nominating convention. It seems like all hell broke loose because Warsami challenging, what the hell's her name? It's right in front of me here. Shugati, yeah. Aisha Shugati. What happened?
Well, this was the nominating convention or the endorsement convention for Democrats for one of the city council seats in Minneapolis. So all 13 city council seats are up for election this year. They do odd year elections. And so they were doing endorsement conventions. And some of them, there's no opposition, so they're not doing the convention. Some of the conventions were happening virtually and on Zoom, so they aren't in person. But Ward 10, which covers the uptown area and some of the surrounding areas, wanted to do an in-person convention. So they had a room rented, and they brought the delegates for the various candidates who were
Some
running.
snacks, it's going to be fun, right?
So yeah, usually it's a long, grueling day, but you're there with fellow Democrats, and you're having fun, and you're doing politics. And the incumbent city council member, Aisha, you mentioned her name, she was running for another term. And she was being challenged by a couple of people, but this Nazri Warsami seemed to be the main challenger. And then she was getting up to the podium to speak, give her campaign speech. They hadn't taken any votes yet. They were still fairly early in the process, but she was about to give her speech. She brought her supporters up on stage, and then a scuffle broke out, a melee, a fracas, whatever you want to call it.
Rhubarb.
A rhubarb.
Donnybrook.
Between her supporters and the supporters of her main challenger, to the point where they had to just pull the plug on the whole thing. And so they just stopped the convention, called the cops. The council member was locked up in a room until the cops showed up and were able to clear the room. I don't think anybody was arrested, but at least one person had to go to the hospital to be treated. And so the state Democrat Party's executive committee is supposed to meet Thursday to try to sort out what to do next.
Did Warsami's people, why did they flood the stage? Did they black out and suddenly think they were back in Somalia, where that's the way politics are run?
I don't know what triggered it. There was this Twitter account called Wedge Live was covering the event because they cover neighborhood events, and they were filming it. And I don't know if you can figure out from the footage what had happened, but it just seems like the two groups got into too close a proximity when one group was moving toward the stage and the other group wasn't. And I don't know who triggered it. The Warsami group's been blamed for it, but I've looked at the video and I can't figure out what happened.
Oh, explain the role of delegates. What is happening there?
Right. So you have at these local conventions. When I ran for office, the Republicans have a similar situation where there's these meetings that happen back in February or March where you have your local group. They called it the BPOU, the Basic Political Operating Unit. And it's just your local branch of your Republican Party or your Democratic Party. And you get together in the middle of winter and you pick delegates from among the group to represent you at these later conventions. Mm-hmm. So you get a 2-year term that you're elected as a delegate, and people sign up for it. And the idea is you're committed to going to meetings for the next year or two. And then later in the year, you have these endorsing conventions. And next year, they'll endorse candidates for Congress or state legislature. But this was the city council, and it was just this one precinct, if you will, in Minneapolis. And these delegates were supposed to vote to endorse one of these candidates for city council. And frequently you have these meetings where they don't come to a conclusion. There isn't enough support for one of them to get the endorsement, so nobody gets the endorsement and you just move on to the next general election.
So 500 people might attend the endorsing convention, but only the delegates vote.
Well, yeah, anybody can attend the convention, but the delegates have a vote, and there were way more delegates apparently than there are normally for this. There was a huge amount of interest in this contest. They were talking about one of the other city council members, when he held the seat, he had only 143 delegates vote for him. And so there were many, many more in the room than are normally in the room.
Well, is there a limit to the number of delegates a candidate can have?
Apparently not. Now, that's not the way the Republican Party's done it, but the Democrats have their own rules. So apparently anybody could have signed up for a Democrat, but there was to be a delegate, but there was a process you were supposed to have gone through the month or two before the event. And that seemed to be the crux of the dispute, that a bunch of Warsami delegates had signed up, and for various reasons, their credentials weren't being honored.
What would constitute cheating? Of voting if you're not a delegate?
Well, voting if you're not a delegate, voting if you don't live in that ward, in that district, or, there was a concern that there were people who signed up to be delegates who either weren't aware they had been signed up to be delegates, or, there was and again, this wasn't just in Ward 10. Apparently this happened in Wards 5 and 6 as well. So I'm conflating a couple of different things here. But yeah, there seemed to be some they have a credentials process, and they seem to be trying to verify delegates, and some didn't get verified for whatever reason, and that seemed to be a source of a dispute between the Warsami folks and the people running the event.
Well, I don't know where to take this because it seems terribly complicated.
I do. How can people like me continue to have faith in a system that seems completely rife with problems?
Well, again, it'll be interesting to see what the executive committee of the Democrats do this week, because that's, they have not just the Ward 10, but Wards 5 and 6. They seem to have a process that appears to have been corrupted. And this is exactly what we complain about for statewide elections, why we advocate for voter ID, why we advocate for signature verification and all these other tests.
Bill, the governor didn't even bother to campaign outside of the metro.
Well, you know where the votes are.
He did, but every time he came out here, he got chased back to the cities.
Kenny's right. Sorry.
Do you know anything about Warsami? Is he trying to pass himself off as a completely different voice than Aisha?
I don't know. It was kind of interesting because you were bringing up the renter thing. I looked at both of their biographies, and I believe in the first sentence of both of the biographies of the candidates, they talk about how they're renters. Mm-hmm. So apparently that's a badge of honor. You're not a homeowner,
you can't
you're a
own
renter.
A home. That's evil.
Because then you're some sort of capitalist, I guess.
Right.
But I guess it's. I don't know the Democrat Party and the ins and outs, but it really seemed like he was pushing himself as not as far to the left as the incumbent.
Well, that's not going to work.
That he seemed to be saying things about public safety and crime in the community that perhaps some of the delegates supporting the incumbent wouldn't have liked to have heard. But again, that's just my outsider view of it. I don't know what the insider view of it is, whether this was something about demographics that were different, or was something where there was genuine policy disputes between the candidates.
There was a lot of multicolored hair there when I watched the videos, and it was just, it looked like a bleep show to me. I just, it was a circus act, but it seems to me that becoming a delegate obviously is something these people want to become. They want to, you want to have that voice. If you're a supporter of Chugati, you got to be a delegate.
Right. So that's the way these endorsing conventions work. Now, there's going to be an election in November where everybody can vote and pick whatever candidate you want. But, if you're in Minneapolis, you're in St. Paul and maybe Duluth and a couple other places, if you don't have that endorsement, if you aren't on the sample ballot that the Democrat Party hands out at election time, you don't really have a chance.
What they're seeking is the endorsement of the state DFL, correct?
Well, it's the local party, but yeah, the state DFL, the Minneapolis, it'll be the Minneapolis DFL in this case because it's an odd year election. So the Minneapolis DFL will mail to every household or somehow distribute to every household in Minneapolis a sample ballot. These are the candidates we back. And you remember the ranked choice voting thing, that in Minneapolis, they could have 10 candidates on the ballot for any race. In fact, the weird thing is, in terms of the law, there are no candidates for this race. The candidate registration doesn't start till August. Mm-hmm. So we're very early in the stages of this. But this is the preferred Democratic candidate. Anybody can file in August for any of these seats. And if there are 10 candidates on the ballot, then just rank choice. You can rank your top 3. There might only be 2. There could only be 1. Somebody's running unopposed. So, but this is to get the endorsement of the Democratic Party to be on that sample ballot, to get the backing of the local party when they do the citywide election in November.
The city, well, both cities, but just stick to Minneapolis, it's been totally consumed by what's called the DFL. There's no Republican candidates for any of the 13 seats.
Well, I'm sure there'll be Republican candidates, but there hasn't been a successful Republican candidate in 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. I mentioned I ran for State House myself 10 years ago.
From a Minneapolis area?
No, for Edina. I ran in this district in Edina, and I was door knocking. And one of the people I met, and I won't mention any names, and I don't want to dox anybody here, but I met a guy who told me he was the last Republican elected to city council in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. And this was back in the 70s or 80s. I can't remember what he said. And there hasn't been a Republican elected mayor in Minneapolis since 1961, I think it was.
Right.
So it's been a long time since a Republican had a real shot at getting elected to anything.
But the city's getting worse. It's not getting better.
Well, again, some political scientists could explain this better than me. You know, the whole thing about factions, nature abhors a vacuum. We have a two-party system because that's the natural state of things, that people divide into camps. And so just because there's one party dominating politics in the city of Minneapolis or the city of St. Paul doesn't mean that they're all unified behind, they have factions. And what was interesting about this Ward 10 convention, the incumbent city council person was backed by the Democratic Socialists. And the other candidate was not. So, we used to have a Green Party had a much bigger sway in Minneapolis. There were actually Green Party candidates who got elected to city office, city council, school board, that sort of thing. So there are divides, and you see this in city council. And again, I don't want to mention any names, so they described as a crypto Republican or something. But you look at the 13 members of the city council, there are ones who are less radical than others. And it was interesting in the aftermath of the fracas. I keep forgetting your word, Joe.
Rhubarb.
It's a rhubarb. In the aftermath of the rhubarb, the Democrat Socialist Twitter account blamed the whole thing on conservatives.
Oh, come on! Are you serious?
I'm serious. You can look it up. That the conservatives. So it's very interesting if you look at politics in a city like Minneapolis or a city like San Francisco. When two Democrats are competing against each other for a nomination, or they're the two finalists on the ballot, they'll accuse the other guy of being a closet Republican or a crypto Republican, because that's the biggest insult you can hurl in intra-Democrat politics. So there are subtle gradations of ideology within the Democrat Party in Minneapolis, and we wouldn't call them conservatives or even moderates, but there are some that are less radical than others, and there is a dividing line.
I have a question from a business standpoint, because you guys do a lot of this at the Center of the American Experiment. I was reading a piece in the Daily Mail about the fallout in Chicago because of Brandon Johnson's progressive woke ideology and the businesses that have already said, we're out of here, or we're going to plan on leaving. What type of fallout are we going to see in the state of Minnesota because of things just like this that you were discussing at the top of the show?
Well, we're already seeing it. The Mayo Clinic's threat to invest elsewhere.
I'm on the Mayo Clinic side on this, by the way.
Well, it's the Mayo Clinic is probably no big fan of conservatives and Republicans in general. They're doctors. They all live in Rochester. I'm sure they're all good Democrats.
But they're one of the largest employers in the state.
They are one of the largest private employers in the state of Minnesota, and they have big operations in other states. They have, I think it's Jacksonville, Florida, and somewhere in the Phoenix area in Arizona. They have big facilities, and they are a nonprofit, but they are a large corporation, a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And they have put huge amounts of money into developing their Rochester campus.
They want to add $1 billion development.
Multi-billion-dollar development.
And they're saying to the state, if I understand the beef correctly, you're not going to tell us how we're going to do our nurse staffing.
Right. That's the proximate cause of it. But there's lots of stuff in that 1,000-page bill that probably won't help you run a hospital. But the proximate cause of their dispute is the nurse staffing. You're giving the nurses the power to determine the staffing of a hospital. And they have a different business model than your typical county hospital like Hennepin County or Regions or whatever. They have a specialized clientele. They have a specialized set of practices. So they have a good argument that we can't be put in the one-size-fits-all box.
Right.
But the nurses union is super unhappy because now you've carved out an exception for these guys, or that's at least the direction they're headed in. Well, what about this other hospital over here who says, well, I'm different than the other guys too. I need an exception. So we're already seeing the fallout of it. The Democrats have gone all in on whoever their supporters were in this last election, giving them whatever they want. The nurses were a big supporter of Democrats in the last election. They're getting what they want. But Mayo is looking at their bottom line. They're a nonprofit, but they still have a bottom line, and says, we can't do business in these conditions. We have capital we need to deploy. We had planned on doing it here in Rochester, but we just can't justify it to our board and our stakeholders because our hands are going to be tied in how we deliver care to our patients.
That strikes me as beyond the comprehension of what's passing for a DFLer today. These aren't business people. These aren't people who've ever held jobs or met payrolls or fired people. These are activists by trade.
Joe, people
basically.
over profits.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, they don't understand what's going on. I don't think.
You mentioned that the local one of the representatives from the Rochester area. It's a big city. There's several representatives. Is a guy named Andy Smith.
We're aware.
Oh, yeah.
And,
we know Andy.
He has taken the side against his largest local employer that he thinks Mayo is wrong.
Well,
and,
he's declared bankruptcy himself.
He ran his own business into the ground.
People over profits, and he lives it.
Oh, honest to God.
I told you we'd be in touch, huh?
Yeah.
Well, let's make this more frequent.
Well, thanks, Joe. It was such a pleasure to do this in person.
And where can people find you, by the way, Bill?
Center of the American Experiment. I'm on there. I post regularly, or my Twitter handle's at Bill Glahn.
Yeah, I'm following you now because I'm learning a lot.
I don't tweet, but I follow Bill.
Yeah. We thank Bill Glahn. When we come back, we'll have John Heidt.
You cannot stop him. He'll just make a move. Joe Souchere.
Let's fix that dump up of yours. Let's get on the horn with Aim High Construction. I know you've been thinking about it. It's time to pull the trigger. They're going to design a gorgeous custom space where your life will happen, and you'll love it. The crew, everybody at Aim High Construction, they can make that vision, whatever your dream is, they can make it happen. They can handle your exterior, your interior projects. It doesn't matter. And we're talking both residential and commercial here. Chris, the owner, his deal is 100% committed to your 100% satisfaction. I think that's how it goes. And same with his whole team. Superior craftsmanship, customer satisfaction. And these guys, they use the best stuff. They work with all the leading brands in the industry to bring you long-lasting, high-performing solutions for that project. This stuff is going to last a long dang time, and you're going to love it. I've worked with them, and I love them. Get the bid ball rolling. Get on the schedule. Get a hold of Aim High Construction right now. You do that by logging on to aimhighconstructionmn.com.
Want a little future glimpse of Uptown?
I don't know if I do or not, Joe. I really
future
don't know.
glimpse of Uptown in Minneapolis? An anti-capitalist coffee shop in Canada is closing.
Oh, yeah?
It didn't work out. Yeah.
Is this where we're just going to give this stuff away for free?
Its owner announced, citing the lack of generational wealth, seed capital from ethically bankrupt sources as the reason for being unable to continue. The Toronto cafe was called the Anarchist. It opened in March 2022 and described itself as an anti-capitalist, anti-colonial cafe, shop, and radical community space on stolen land. So they checked every box there, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And we learned that it's been an amazing experience connecting with so many great community members, sparking desperately needed debate, raising the blood pressure of conservatives. That includes you, anarcho-capitalists and libertarians, fulfilling the dream of most service workers by not having to tolerate the presence of professional class traders, pigs and military, and experimenting with living and working in ways that don't enthusiastically embrace the pure misanthropy of capitalism. Shop owner Gabriel Sims-Fewer wrote on the cafe website to announce the closing. Unfortunately, the lack of generational wealth, seed capital from ethically bankrupt sources left me unable to weather the quiet winter season or to grow in ways needed to be sustainable longer term. In other words, nobody bought your BS, asshole. Excuse me, I just said a bad word.
You said
You weren't wrong.
I apologize.
Yeah.
In an effort to make coffee accessible to everyone, because it's not. Coffee's special.
It's tough, right?
There's hardly any places to get it.
Right.
And it's not in the grocery stores.
Nope.
So it's very difficult for everyone to get it.
I can't walk down the hallway and get it free from the sales department.
What kind of model do you think they had in this anti-capitalist? What kind of pay model do you think they had?
Pay as you can.
Attaboy, Johnny.
Pay what you want.
And that didn't work out.
Wow. That's shocking.
Because these were ethically bankrupt sources. In an effort to make coffee accessible to everyone and to enforce the idea that the enterprise is not a capitalist venture, the shop had a pay-what-you-can model that was subsidized by pricier drinks. Oh, wait a minute.
Check
this out.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me
How'd it go down?
that in order to get money, you price the drinks higher to virtually guarantee that no one would pay for them?
Yeah.
You can't. All right.
Say, run that by me again.
Well,
you could. Okay, it sounds. What I'm hearing is, if you want a cup of coffee like I drink it, just black, that's fine. Pay as you go. $0, a
Give
buck,
a
whatever you can afford.
Yeah.
But if you want something a little,
I want a tall Americano with 2 extra shots.
yeah, that's going to cost you $5 25.
yeah, but these saps would build it for you, and then you didn't pay for it.
Wow.
The model was evidently not successful.
You don't say.
Really? The cafe came under criticism when it first opened, as critics said it was hypocritical to charge high prices for inexpensive coffee. In his message, Sims-Fewer said the Anarchist has been a huge success in every way I hoped.
Well,
Really? And has given me so much inspiration and education that I plan to use in future projects. He ended the statement with, F the rich, F the police, F the state, F the colonial death camp we call Canada. The shop also sells merchandise highlighting anti-capitalist views. And for some reason, I'm surprised, for some reason it just didn't work out.
That is delightful.
Unbelievable.
At the Krabby Coffee Shop, we only have one motto. Get your coffee, get out.
Pay for your coffee and shut the hell
And
up.
turn around. And
We
leave.
are
Do you guys
currently
have a bathroom?
in
No.
a position
Not
where
open to the public.
we are to take delight in stories like this or a fight breaking out at Ward 10 because this is what you all wanted.
There's your future of Uptown. In fact, there's probably already a store like this in Uptown with the anti-capitalist views and the anti-police and the anti-colonialism, and they're on stolen land, and they just want to bring the whole thing to a crushing halt and wreck it and destroy it, and they are succeeding in Minneapolis, and they are succeeding in St. Paul, and they are succeeding in the state legislature.
I can relate this to our last conversation that we had when Bill was here, too. I just went to their website, the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And the first T-shirt that shows up that you can buy has a little logo right here that says "People over Profit."
Yeah, that worked out. That worked good for that Andy character in Rochester, didn't it? Mm-hmm. And he's rooting against the major employer in his town. But see, those are people who don't understand that people are in business in this country to make money.
I want to make money. I want to retire. I want to.
So I'm still explain to me what destroyed her. She couldn't get a loan from the very people
It's a he.
He couldn't get a loan from the very people he was criticizing and screaming and yelling at?
Exactly.
Huh.
He calls them generational wealth seed capital from ethically bankrupt sources. In other words, the bank.
But he came on his knees begging for money.
He went in to get some money, and he found that there was a lack of generational wealth and seed capital from ethically bankrupt sources.
So he's not willing to believe a banker when the banker says, well, your business model is S, and you're an idiot.
Right.
But so he won't take that to heart.
No, that doesn't matter.
Yeah. A radical community space on stolen land. Well, then, a fool, why are you there?
And where are you going to go?
Why are you there then? Where can you go?
What excludes him from working on that stolen land selling coffee?
Because he's virtuous.
Where isn't stolen land?
You know, wasn't there a war for the land? Wars are fought for land.
I think.
I'm staying out of this one.
I'm going to stay out of it,
I think
too.
in the original thing, I think the man overtook.
Well,
Then there were some
are you
wars.
talking in the case of Canada, where the English just rolled in and took it over?
In Canada, we call those First Nation people.
Right.
And they were diminished as well as the natives in this country.
Right.
Yeah.
How about that Twins game?
But what's funny is they did the same thing in this country, but then we fought back. And then we took over the country, and then we took over the blame. It's our fault.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Well, in any event, that coffee shop is closed now in Toronto, which means that's just less accessible now in Toronto to get a cup of coffee.
Right.
I wonder if Mueller Memorial can bury a whole state.
Oh, boy, death by 1,000 cuts.
That's a big task, but they're up to big tasks. They're up to any task you bring them. They're very compassionate people at Mueller Memorial, family-owned for more than 3 generations. I know these guys and gals. I know Scott Mueller very well. He's gonna help you honor your loved one and bring families together to celebrate a life well lived. I know this can be fraught with anxiety and fear and sadness, but he has devoted his life to making that as easy as possible for you. And I am going to place a call to him. Can you bury a whole state? Can you
be a pretty big cash?
His first thing would be who's paying the bill. That would be his first question.
It wouldn't even be a celebration of life well lived, would it? It would be a celebration of the wrecking ball hitting the state. But if anyone could do it, it'd be Mueller, right? Mueller Memorial, Mueller Mortuary. Scott has written a book called What to Know Before You Go. You can go to MuellerMemorial.com/GL, see if copies are available, and it will help you get through the overwhelming and the frightening parts of this chapter in life. And that's what it is. It's one of the chapters in life we're all going to face, and I've faced it before with Mueller Memorial, and unfortunately I'll face it again, but they're there for us. It's MuellerMemorial.com.
This guy wears many hats, just not indoors. Joe Souchere.
Can you look ahead at next week's schedule, Reavers?
Sure.
I think we're winding down here with ProTurf. We usually wind down a week or so before Memorial Day because Dave has so many GLers on the schedule that he can't take any more in. But if you want to get on the schedule, it's certainly not too late. Go to professionalturf.com. They've been treating lawns since '82. They know their stuff. And if you need something done in your back lawn, your front yard, whatever, is something patio related, I don't know, they can do that too. And whatever your dream may be, they'll work with you and they'll get it. And they've got this computer thing and they've got this voodoo thing, and they can actually make your dreams a reality and show them to you before they even put a shovel in the ground. Pretty cool. ProTurf specializes in everything landscaping related, whatever you can dream up, they've already done and they can do. Best lawn in the neighborhood and amazing outdoor environments. You can see all of their work at professionalturf.com.
Here's John Heidt.
Thank you, Joe. And this news is brought to you by professionalturf.com. Before I do news, can I go back to the Anarchist coffee shop for just a moment?
Sure.
I went to their menu.
Yeah.
There's only, to make this guy's arguments even worse, there's only one thing that's free in the entire place, and that's the 12-ounce regular black cup of coffee.
Right.
Everything else costs you money.
Yeah.
Anything you want to order aside from that coffee.
So he's a hypocrite.
Well, he's not.
He's
very,
a hypocrite.
He's not
besides.
very bright.
Yeah, and they're the same kind of prices you'll find it at other coffee shops.
Right.
So,
What's amazing is they never admit defeat. They never admit they're wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's coming to Uptown pretty quick.
So there's an opening.
I think so.
Okay.
In news, a man has been ordered to spend more than 100 years in prison for shooting and killing 4 people in St. Paul before leaving them in an SUV ditched in a western Wisconsin cornfield. Remember this back in 2021? 39-year-old Antoine Darnique Suggs was found guilty on all 4 counts of second-degree intentional murder after a 2-week jury trial earlier this year. Each count had a maximum sentence of 40 years in prison. Ramsey County Judge JaPaul Harris sentenced Suggs to more than 25 years on each count. That totals more than 103 years. Prosecutors say Suggs shot and killed Jasmine Sturm, Matthew Pettis, Natosha Flug Presley, and Loyce Foreman III in St. Paul. A farmer found the SUV with 4 bodies inside on his property in Sheridan, Wisconsin. Investigators say they used cell phone data from that night to determine that they believed Suggs killed the victims when he was near the White Squirrel Bar in St. Paul. All 4 victims had been shot in the head. Court records said that Suggs then met his dad, 56-year-old Darren Osborne, who also uses the last name McWright, and that the two then traveled to Wisconsin in separate vehicles. Ramsey County prosecutors charged Osborne with 1 count of aiding an offender. He pleaded guilty back in October of 2022. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison at that time. Suggs was arrested after the shooting in Arizona when he surrendered to police in Gilbert days after the shooting.
And we're still unclear as to a motive?
I don't think we've ever come clean on that, right?
I'm unaware of a motive.
I thought what was notable about this was the old man getting in the car, and he only gets 5 years.
I don't know.
He got in the car to help get rid of the bodies.
Well, he was in a separate car.
He followed him to pick
drove
him up.
Yeah, so
Wisconsin.
they could leave the SUV there, and he only gets 5 years.
He got the following sentence. He just for following.
Got it.
As we talked about earlier, after hours of debate, the Minnesota House of Representatives passed that major public safety bill. The $880 million package includes both new funding and new policies, but what seemed to get the most attention from lawmakers, measures that would require background checks on private gun sales, as well as the red flag law that will allow guns to be taken away from people deemed a danger to themselves or others. The bill passed with a vote that took place shortly after midnight this morning, after about 9 hours of debate. Republicans say what's in the bill won't protect Minnesotans, and they say they wanted more involvement in creating it. Jim Nash is a Republican from Waconia. He said if somebody's going to commit a crime, the new law is not going to impede them from committing the crime. They don't think that way. The bill also strictly limits the use of no-knock warrants by police, makes it easier for some prisoners to have their prison sentences reduced, includes money for crime prevention programs that allows judges and public defenders to get pay raises. The bill will now head to Governor Tim Walz's desk, and he is, of course, expected to sign it into law.
So, Kenny, if you sell me a gun, how do you do the background check on me? Nope. There's your answer. How in the hell is that supposed to happen?
Number one, I'm not selling you a gun.
All right.
Number two, I'm not selling anybody a gun.
All right.
And you know why? Because one night, a couple of weeks ago, I had all of my firearms in a canoe, and I was crossing the Mississippi. But wave come along, tipped me over.
No, you have got nothing.
I have no more firearms. They're
That's
all
too bad.
What bad
gone.
Why are you telling us it's
All
not?
gone.
Terrible. I'm sorry.
Did you file an insurance claim or anything?
No, they're just gone. I just have to eat it. Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear for your loss.
Very sorry.
Yeah.
Joe, you need to read this
you pack a
Daily
lunch?
Mail thing that I brought up when Bill was in here talking about this very thing. This Chicago is going to follow the Joe Susher. They're going to miss Lori Lightfoot.
I'm aware of that. You already have companies that'll.
Tyson, Caterpillar, and Boeing have already said, we're out.
See ya.
Following them is going to be CME. That is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. That's worth $66 billion.
When were they founded? Like 1800s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They've been there forever.
And they're like, nope, we're out.
I know. I'm aware of that. It's not a good scene.
Is Grant Park going to get up and move?
No. But no one will be able to afford to conduct any parties there.
I wonder if it's still safe to go down there for Blues Fest or 4th of July.
Absolutely not.
Really?
Founded in 1898 with 4,500 employees.
Mm-hmm.
Their stock price at a nice 182.
Ruck people over profits.
Mm-hmm.
I got to believe you'd be safe in large crowds down there, Joe.
No, you can shoot more in a large crowd. You can get rid of more people in a large crowd.
Latest updates on highway issues we mentioned briefly yesterday. Authorities say Jonathan Carver Parkway and Highway 11 in Carver County and Highway 9 in Scott County have closed due to flooding on the Minnesota River.
They sure did, John. This morning's drive to school was fun.
Originally,
did you have to go through water?
Belle Plaine. We get to take the extended route.
Well, that's
Originally
what you
the
get for
stretch.
living in the hinterland.
I knew he was going to say that.
How's Henderson? Is that still above?
It's still closed. Yep.
We got Henderson here. Let's see, Kenny. Scott County Sheriff's Office says Highway 93 is closed south of Henderson. And in addition, Highway 41 from Chaska's River Bridge is closed for construction. They're saying they don't know what all.
But Henderson itself is not underwater.
Oh.
No, you just take 19 off of 169 to get down there through the river. Or
Right.
over the river, excuse me.
Oh.
Star Tribune reporting a 15-year-old girl died at the hospital Saturday night shortly after being critically wounded in a shootout on Minneapolis' north side. Officers responded to North Memorial Health around 10 in the evening Saturday on a report of a shooting involving a juvenile. A private vehicle reportedly dropped off the victim down the block from the ER ambulance bay, where first responders rushed to her aid. The child was identified Monday night as Marlisha Victory Davenport of South St. Paul. Her cause of death was a single gunshot wound to the back. Police incident reports obtained by the Star Tribune indicate a flurry of gunfire in the minutes before Davenport was taken to the hospital. At about 5 to 10, someone called 911 to report hearing 20 rounds fired on the 1000 block of Morgan Avenue North. Dispatchers also logged a possible drive-by involving an automatic weapon just a few blocks away from there.
That incompetent legislator from Rochester that declared
Andy
bankruptcy, was it a coffee shop he had?
I don't remember.
Coffee shop and theater, wasn't it? I believe
theater,
he
maybe?
No, bookstore.
Bookstore and
coffee
theater.
shop. Yeah, there you go. Valley Fair has updated its chaperone policy. They opened this past weekend, and under the new policy, all guests 15 years or younger have to be accompanied by a chaperone, at least 21 or older, have to remain in the park from 4 p.m. to close. The chaperone must present a valid photo ID at ticket entry and stay inside the park during the group's entire visit. In addition, one chaperone may accompany no more than 10 guests ages 15 or younger per day. Guests ages 15 or older, 15 years old or younger, who were found inside the park without a chaperone will be subject to ejection.
The kids have to be on a rope like those daycare kids.
The leash is right. Wow, it's come to that.
I think I'm going to volunteer. I'll volunteer to be a chaperone. Take some kids down.
That'd be fun.
Be a
I'd
lot
like
of
to
fun,
see
wouldn't
that.
it? Yeah.
We have to worry about how kids are going to behave at an amusement park.
Why not you just tell people, don't bother coming here?
But
Matt, we don't have to tell them.
They're not at fault, Joe. They're not at fault.
Oh, I know.
No,
that's right.
No, Matt, you've got a point. You have to. That happens everywhere. I mean, that's happening at stock car races we go to, where the parents drop off their teenagers, and then the roommate has about 6 shots of something, and she starts going, I'm going to go over there and tell those little sons of bitches a thing or two. And her and a couple of other drunk moms go after them and shut it all down. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Well, what Valley Fair should do is just get a big moose and tell them the park's closed. The moose outside should have told you.
Valley Fair should give my roommate a bottle of tequila and turn her loose.
Put her on the payroll.
Clean that place up.
The lineup for this year's free stage entertainment at the State Fair has been released. The fair officials say more than 900 shows are played through the 12 days. An interesting lineup. There's some folks here we know. The 2023 lineup includes Naturally 7, the Bacon Brothers, that's Kevin Bacon and his brother, and Soul Asylum, and one I'm very familiar with, a guy named Dallas Wayne, who's also a disc jockey on Outlaw Country on Sirius XM, and he will have with him one of the finest country guitarists around these days, an old fella by the name of Red Volkert.
Now, where's the free stage?
The Liney Lodge.
Well, there's a Liney stage.
Just around from O'Gara's.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah.
There's 6 different free stages total. And
Johnny, what day of the week is Soul Asylum?
I don't know. The only one I checked was Red Volkert.
September
my
3rd
own
and
personal
4th.
use.
It's not actually Soul Asylum, though. It's just Dave.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Michael Bland playing drums.
Well, that's that's the reason to go. If you're going to go watch Michael.
See Michael Bland.
That's Sunday and Labor Day is when they appear.
Oh, so it's the last 2 Soul
Yes.
Asylum?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to have to.
We're not doing the fair this year, are we? I haven't heard anything.
No, I have. No, we don't have to go this year.
Good.
What?
Really?
Yep.
No.
He called and asked
I miss you GLers.
We
but
got to go.
He called and asked my permission to call it off, and I spoke for all of you.
Kenny did speak for us. No, he did speak for us. That's fine.
But after I read this morning, planned my 2 days around seeing Red
Well, you're
Voltage.
on your
So
own.
I'm going to call them back.
Get
This
on
is
the
not
bus
over.
at the Lutheran Church.
I'm
in
storming
Blaine,
the
wherever
castle.
the hell you live.
I'm storming the castle.
No, you idiots. I'm the only one on here that's shadow management, and I've already made the decision.
Shadow management.
It's not happening.
Shadow management.
I just wanted
Kenny Olson, shadow
stated for the record that if I get one email from anybody in sales or management, I'm not responding to it.
Well, I think sales
Send them to me.
should be prepared to.
You know what? You're right. You won't get any emails from GLers. You'll get them all from across the hall.
Yep. And I'm not responding to one of them, just so you know.
All in caps from the sales department and management.
And the best part about those emails is
People
it's
have seen
usually
us enough.
It's usually in a group of about 15 people in the building, and I have to just sit there and delete. Oh, here's the original. Okay, go.
I was just saying, congrats to
I'm
all.
going to be in northern New York at that time.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Well,
Boat show.
why don't we sit and wait for those emails from sales and let Rook do a spot here before we do some more news?
Speaking of sales,
It is a very, speaking of sales, I want you to go to welterheating.com and check out their website. Clicking. What causes clicking of an HVAC noise? If the recurring clicking HVAC noise is coming from your control panel or the outside compressor, this typically suggests there's a disruption in the system delay. I'm not going to go on and on. You can go to their website, welterheating.com, and learn about clicking, thumping, clanking, or banging. Popping, rattling. We're talking about AC units here, Reavers, so please be quiet. Hissing, squealing, and screeching. Oh my God, what's wrong with this family?
I want to live there.
Nothing. I want to live there. Nothing is wrong with the Welter family because 4 generations have provided Minneapolitans and St. Paulites with over 100 years of repair, replacement, and the like. And they're giving that information out for free. So when you're about to flip on that AC unit, if it is making some funny noises, you can go check out.
Maybe there's an animal involved.
That could be. You don't know. They don't cover it here, but you'll have to find out from yourself. So go to the website, welterheating.com, or if you have a question and you want to ask in person, they will pick up the phone. It's not a what do you call it, a robot?
Yeah, that's right.
Artificial intelligence. 612-825-6867. 612-825-6867. They're the best in the business, and they're going to be here for years. They're not a flash in the pan. welterheating.com.
Not a Garage Logic town council member? Here's what you're missing.
It was an alien show.
Skinwalker's Ranch.
Yeah, is that fake?
No, that's a real place.
I'm purposely avoiding it because the experts are calling BS.
I watched it yesterday. I think it's a bunch of hogwash.
Lots of weird stuff happened there, man.
Well, but they go up in the chopper and there's an electromagnetic. It's throwing the chopper around. I thought it was bull.
we're live on the town council.
I still thought it was. Okay.
Go behind the scenes of Garage Logic with unfiltered audio and video access, invites to exclusive events, an emailed newsletter from the mayor himself, and more by signing up at garagelogic.com.
Fighting the demagogues of diversity, it's Joe Soucheray.
Did you play this one already?
Yeah, I'm really sick of this bump. I'm not going to lie.
You've either played it today already or you played it twice yesterday.
I'm sorry.
God, what is wrong with us?
Where do you want us to start?
At Soucheray family gatherings, is there a lot of like eye poking and slamming? Oh,
It's a Three Stooges episode.
Are you plugged back in yet?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So at your family gatherings, are there like eye gouging and heads getting slammed together and 3 people getting stuck in a door?
Kids turned upside down, turned into an outboard motor.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm witnessing you walk in the front door. The first thing you get is a wet towel right to the face. All right. Oh, I'm doing something here, aren't I?
I think so.
Yes, you are,
That new
Kenny.
word.
I was going to brag about life in the country. We drive it. We love our side-by-sides, drive them everywhere, side-by-sides for the chores, the adrenaline spikes, the runs to town. the runs to town. Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Get out to the fish house, whatever. Now, I know you folks with weekend or lake or country places, you have them. I see you. Others may have noticed side-by-sides, pretty big darn deal in the Midwest. And Moon Motorsports has them. Right now, they have an amazing selection of Polaris side-by-sides and ATVs and stocks and special May rebates on many models that really makes it easier to purchase. Everything from the Ranger to the Razor, the Turbo R, you'll find the Polaris side-by-side that you really, really need. If you love riding the trails on two wheels, then KTM. Check out the KTM lineup. The 24 KTMs arriving right now. And the remaining 23s, pretty attractive pricing. Hop over to the website, see all the models of KTMs, the trail, the wood bikes, and the lineup of side-by-sides from Polaris. Get yourself a side-by-side, moonmotorsports.com. It's a love affair with riding that's been going on now for 52 years in Monticello. Family owned and operated the whole time. Moon Motorsports, just south of 94, west of 25 in Monticello, and on the web, moonmotorsports.com.
Thank you, Mr. Olson and Mr. Souchere. In other news,
GLers need to know that no matter how mean he is to us, he's way meaner to his blood relatives, granddaughters and grandsons.
How you doing, kid? Fine. How you doing?
Wow. Hopefully she doesn't listen to the podcast.
No, but I think her grandfather does, and I hope he's laughing as hard as I am.
In other news, Ukrainian air defense is bolstered by the recently deployed...
Thought you were the grandfather.
She has two.
There's a couple.
Oh, the other one.
Yeah.
My kids have had a full life of grandparents. I never even knew a grandfather.
Yeah.
Oh, it was awesome.
Same
I had a
with me.
grandfather. I had a couple. It was awesome.
I just lost my last one a year and a half ago.
And my grandmas, you know, they had the bad grandma shoes, and they wore dresses, and
stockings.
Yeah. And lots of purses.
No matter how
in the
good,
living room, like another Souchere is going to come and steal it. Yeah.
No matter how good your parents were, your grandparents way better.
Well,
way better.
Wait, I just had an idea.
Okay,
Rook, with your permission, we bring back the Table Talk format podcast, but it's the Soucheres talking about Joe.
No. Oh my God!
Yeah, come on, we have seats at the table.
No,
we got a format to go. I know two guys.
You know what? They didn't drive. They were grandmas who didn't drive. They didn't drive.
Grandma Maddock, Teresa, she never had her license.
Neither one of mine did either.
Gert,
yep.
Both of my grandmas never had the
license. To get one of them out there, you have to go pick her up into town. You have to go to town to get her.
And then on a Saturday afternoon,
well, Sundays usually.
In the mornings, though, where would they go? They had to go get their...
No, I don't remember the grandmas getting their hair done.
Oh, you don't? Going to the salon and having the...
Mother
if it was rainy, the scarf.
No, you had the scarf, yeah.
Scarf and the bad helmet air dryer.
Jeez.
And it smells so bad in there.
Yeah, it smelled like sulfur.
Yes.
Plastic on the living room furniture.
Yeah.
Did both of your grandmas smoke?
Neither did.
Oh, really?
No, neither did.
So I had one that would just... She was a professional smoker.
And that only one drank, and it was the cooking sherry.
Really?
I need a little more of that sherry.
Yeah. My Grandma Maddock every once in a while would go for one beer and she'd be hammered off her.
Yeah.
And that's like a $1 for 5 gallons of that stuff, isn't it?
Well, it was always in supply. I got news for you.
And then there was the one time when Grandpa Red went out to dinner with her and she fell over at the manor.
Yeah. And he counted her out.
He went down and he went 7, 8, 9. If I did that to my wife, it would be
God.
Oh my God.
No, if she fell over, you'd grab her feet and paint her toenails quick.
Right, but when I fall over, which is about
But what is that? That's life expectancy, I guess.
Did you lose both of yours, Joe?
Oh, I never knew either of them. They were dead before I was born.
From death?
Yeah.
Right.
No, they went to prison.
Yeah. No, I didn't know. Okay. Here's why I asked that. I had one who died before I was born.
Both mine died before I was born.
Well, my other one I never met and didn't know it. It's all very shady.
Oh, boy. That is different.
How old were your grandpas when they went down? In that 70 mark?
No, probably earlier than that. I don't
Johnny, was she running a house
They
or
both
making
died
shine or something?
I don't know. They were young.
No, we don't know. It's all veterinary.
Oh,
we don't know if it's
interesting.
nefarious or not.
My mom said FDR killed her dad.
Because he got...
In those days,
it was flip-flopped.
Those days, you had the wake in the house.
Yeah.
The old man sitting on the couch, he's half cooked,
Yeah. No, Jalmer sat in the dining room for like 4 days before they stuffed him down.
Yeah. Had a fishing rod in his hand,
Yep. Yep.
Like Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Either that or they have
You're so messed up.
Either that or they have to put them in the crick just to keep them cold.
Can I do some news?
Nah.
Let's go. I got to leave at 1:30. I got at 2 o'clock.
I remember one time my grandma coming back from Hawaii. I have this memory of her. She had the big lay on.
Okay.
The big flowered lay on. That's all I remember.
She had a good time?
She went to Hawaii by herself.
She had a really good
No,
time.
I think she might have gone with the St. Luke's Choir. I think that's what it might have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
She wasn't spending some
But
of
that was in the 50s when you're flying prop
Joe?
planes.
Men's choir?
No, the girls. The women. Yeah.
The girls.
Maybe she went with the men's choir.
Oh, my God. That is just awful.
We're starting to mess with karma here. We better...
No, I loved my grandmas. They were great.
Why is Grandma going alone?
Well, she's tired. Gonna stand on the beach.
Okay.
No, she drove then. She drove until about the mid 50s. And then I
she
think
got her license?
And she didn't. One grandma died in 1969, and one grandma died in 1976.
Hello?
The one in the sod hut made it till 1976. My dad's mom. She was 90 something, 96. And she didn't have all her marbles at the end.
Okay.
Because, you'd go and visit her and she'd say, I don't know what's
Where
going
was
on.
she? She's up there.
She was in a place. Yeah.
She was out there.
You can get them.
You can get them. All right, then.
Hell of a report.
Okay,
John.
moving on.
Yeah. Do you like my news? It's pretty good, don't you think? I do have one story. Let me get this one story in for you, though, just because I like it.
Yeah.
A DUI suspect in Colorado tried unsuccessfully to pin the rap on his puppy, according to police in eastern Colorado.
Slid the dog over into the driver's seat?
Yep, cops in Springfield, Colorado
I've tried that. That doesn't work.
wrote on Facebook that the attempted switch happened at 11:30 in the evening last Saturday. Officers were pulling over his vehicle, driving 52 in a 30. Officials said the driver tried to switch places with his dog, who was in the passenger seat. As the officer approached, the officer watched the entire process. The male party then exited the passenger side of the vehicle and claimed he wasn't driving. When police asked the suspect if he'd consumed alcohol, he just up and ran, abandoning both vehicle and his puppy. He was caught about 60 feet from where the incident began. Charges against the man include DUI and resisting arrest. Police said the dog was given to an acquaintance of the driver to take care of while the party was in jail. And police added, because they like to do this kind of stuff on Facebook, the dog does not face any charges and was let go with just a warning.
The dog was let go with a warning.
You know, if you're my age, what all grandmas had in their house?
What?
There was a name for the type of candy.
Ribbon candy.
Ribbon candy that was glued together.
Yeah, you could not
So
separate
you couldn't break off a hunk.
And it was in, what kind of dish was it in?
Well, it was in a glass.
Yes, like a
almost
bowl
like
thing.
an ashtray.
Yeah,
thing.
yes. And where was it placed?
Well, it was usually on maybe an end table in the living room.
The living room.
Yep.
And what lined the living room hallway on top of the carpet?
A runner. Plastic.
As if people were going to be coming in from
droves,
from Australia,
that were just digging mines right now and going to dirty up.
But you're trying to get a hunk of that candy and you'd break a finger.
Exactly.
It was all glued together.
It was. It sat there for the year.
You know what my one grandma had too? I wish I had it. She had a card shuffler. You ever see those?
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you still get one?
Sure.
Yeah,
You
you go
put
to a
the
thrift
cards
store.
in and you turn to crank.
Yes, thrift stores have them.
Oh, they were neat. It was neat.
Yeah.
Dang.
But she also collected dolls, and it was
I
very,
didn't like
very
that. Don't do
frightening
that. Let's
because
not
they
do
were
that.
everywhere, and they looked at you. And
they come alive at night.
And she made many of them. I mean, she was an excellent seamstress and whatever. And I just, I shielded my eyes. I couldn't, I didn't like the dolls looking at me like that.
That's what happened.
Did your grandma have? See, my grandma had the two candy. She had the ribbon, and then there was like a brother candy
Butterscotch?
that was full of. It had stuff on the inside,
Oh,
so it was like the ribbon candy, but it had the icky, gooey stuff.
Yeah, the
inside.
filled stuff. The
And
center
you
had
never
a filling.
wanted to make a mistake and grab the wrong one.
No, I
the
used to
filled
take an
ones
ice
were
pick to that
awful.
ribbon candy. You know, you chop that sucker up. Okay, well, we'll be back in a moment.
Joe, what is your number one rule about making the best coffee?
Coldest water possible.
And you know what makes the coldest water possible?
I don't.
My friends at Hofferman Water, our friends at Hofferman Water. I forgot to promote that I use it every morning to make coffee.
Well, that's your best coffee.
It really is. And that's because I have a brand new drinking water system from Hofferman Water and Connecticut. And if you're in the market, well, now's the time to get on their schedule. So schedule your water analysis today. It's free, by the way. 952-894-4040. 952-894-4040. Or go to their website, HoffermanWater.com. You know, if you're feeling like you should blow your nose in the middle of the appointment to get that water analysis,
Keep pushing.
they don't mind. So get that new system from Connecticut, whether it's a water softener, an iron rust or odor filtration system, or a drinking water system, and you will be extremely satisfied that you decided to make the switch. Hofferman Water has been proudly serving the state of Minnesota for over 50 years. Tell them you heard about them here on the Garage Logic Podcast.
Are we done with ads?
No.
Yes.
Joe Souchere, the keeper of common sense.
Only because they come to us all the way from Fernandina in the Villages, Florida, from the Traveling Lymans at worldwidewaftage.com. It was on this day in 1850.
Joe, today is May 16th.
The Reverend Edward D. Neal's Presbyterian Chapel was destroyed in St. Paul's first documented fire. It was on this day in 1898.
516.
The 12th, 13th, and 14th regiments of the Minnesota Volunteer Infantry departed for training to fight in the Spanish-American War. Only the 13th Regiment would see combat, and that was in the Philippines. And on this day,
Joe, today is May 16th.
1938, the sewage disposal plant on Pig's Eye Island in St. Paul was dedicated. Originally considered progressive, it later became a Superfund site. Isn't that where the sewage plant is now?
I guess. What's a super fund?
They had to come in and clean it up because they probably didn't have the technological means they have today.
It's poop.
Yeah.
I mean, you
clean that up and
why is that super?
Get her taken care of. Thank you, GLers.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. GLers, listen to the Rook tell you what you should do later today.
Looking for a podcast because we're taking a Friday off? Go to PodMN on your smartphone. Oh, shucks. Go to PodMN on your smartphone and find maybe a topic. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's comedy. Whatever the case may be, there's a podcast out there for you at PodMN on your smartphone. Waiting for you at YouTube is a subscription to Garage Logic so you can enjoy the ups and downs and antics of all of us over the years. And then fly on over to garagelogic.com, sign up for the town council by paying your $10 a month or $100 for the year, and then take receipt of your Fratelloni $10 hardware and garden store gift card. It's just that easy. Have I taken up enough of your time? Cha.
It is time once again to check in with our guy, Josh Arnold. Mr. Money Talk is on the line with us once again here in Garage Logic, and now's the time for you to do the same. So do not delay. Pick up the phone and do what I did. Dial 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. You call that number, you get Josh, and you will always get straight talk. You're never going to get sugar-coated advice, and Josh is with us once again. And Josh, today, you'd like to touch on Home Depot and the fact that Their retail landscape didn't look good after their earnings report, but there is still more opportunity out there, isn't there?
That is correct. Home Depot reported their earnings today, and Home Depot's numbers and stock price took a nice chunk out of the Dow Jones. Home Depot missed on the top line, missed on the bottom line, and their guidance was not stellar. Indeed, their guidance was more than a little bit of caution. Home Depot's same-store sales numbers fell, and Home Depot did attribute a lot of their shortfall due to weather across the country, and I've seen that weather mentioned with several other companies, including a favorite, Penn Gaming, when they reported. So weather is a concern and will have an effect on a company's earnings report. But typically, if you have a weather situation during one quarter, that can be made up in the next quarter or next several quarters. Home Depot, however, indicated that that was not going to be the case. Several factors other than the weather that were impacting their business. Home sales, and particularly new home, not so much new home sales, which still are on the upswing, but sellers of homes to new buyers. So the turnover of older houses has slowed down significantly, and Home Depot cited lumber prices coming down, having an adverse effect on their sales, of course, and their earnings. Home Depot's numbers filtered through to Lowe's, which isn't going to report until later in the week, and also to the other big retailers, including Target and Walmart. The places where, and I will mention Target and Walmart, are due to report their earnings later this week. Walmart might get a nice boost from food sales, but it's not going to be coming necessarily from clothing sales. And Target was already talking about moving more of their business to grocery as a way to attract more buyers. I'm not a big buyer of either Walmart or Target. If I'm looking for anything, we'll say in the big box category, I would look for a subscription service company like Costco, or even sticking with Amazon, as much as I'm frustrated or have been frustrated with Amazon's performance over the last year. Now, recently, Amazon has been on a little bit of a surge as Amazon starts talking up their artificial intelligence prowess. Just to shift gears a little bit, artificial intelligence, I'm not going to say is the next best thing since sliced white bread, but artificial intelligence in a strategy has definitely boosted many companies. I'm not going to say that it's like when people put .net many years ago and started talking up the internet, but artificial intelligence is going to be around and definitely has been part of many companies, including Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Facebook, among others, and will continue to be. And it's just a matter of how much money these companies will be able to generate or add to their services going forward. Back to retail, the places that have done well with retail still have been the shoes. It's the shoes, baby, that make things. On Holdings, ONON, market symbol of Swiss Athletic Shoe Company, reported better than expected numbers, a lot of that coming from direct-to-consumer. Their stock was down a little bit after their report. Then you have Boot Barn, Skechers doing well, Crocs, and Deckers. Those are the stronger retailers.
Very good, Mr. Money Talk. You heard him, GLers. Now's the time for you to pick up the phone and make the call for that free 48-minute financial consultation by dialing 952-925-5608, where you're always going to get straight talk and never, ever sugar-coated advice. Josh, once again, thank you so much for the time and the chat. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday.
You got it, Chris. Thank you.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.